and a good Friday night to everybody listening to Outside the Box here on Freedom Reigns Blog Talk Radio. I am Kate of Gaia, your host tonight, and we're going to have some fun tonight. Again, it's just going to be another lock and load kind of evening. And Peter, have we got you there on the line?
Sure do.
Attaboy. And we're just waiting for Tony to come in. And yep. I am assuming that must be Ted on the other line, so I'm going to make that hot and see who it is.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Ted, is that you there?
This is me. Yes, it is.
All right. That is you. The I am that I am. Well, we're certainly not yous anymore. We're more like rams now, so that's yeah, no more sheeple land for us. So, yeah, we're going to have a bit of fun tonight. We're going to have a whole lot of fun tonight. And don't forget, guys, you can go over to the freedomreigns.us chat. You can just go to www.freedomreigns.us, and you can put /chat, or just go to the room and click on chat, and we'll get you in there and see what everyone has to say. But I got to tell you, this has been a week of weeks. Been quite a week. It's been actually quite a month. We've had a lot of information come out and a lot of things clarify very, very quickly. So anyway, I'm gonna give you guys the floor. I'm waiting for Tony to get online here, and as always, UK, for whatever reason, we always have a bit of an issue getting them on the line. But Ted and Peter, I'm going to let you guys, Peter, you don't need an introduction, but I want you to give one anyway. Oh, there's Tony now, so I'm going to make Tony's mic hot. And anyway, so I want you guys to do a little brief intro on yourselves, and we're playing wild card tonight, so take her away.
Cool. Well, it's a divine providence type of day today. Everything's starting to move forward on a whole new level, which is really good for everybody involved. We've had some very nice victories this week in a good way. For those who don't believe anything we say or do or whatever, and got a lot of stone throwing, but that's the busy making behavior, and we're trying to keep reduce the fractures in people's knowledge base, but of course they've got to grab onto it a little bit and get some for themselves. Anyways, I was going to let Ted run for a couple minutes and broach some information that he brought across our desk. Basically, we brought across our own desk. But Ted, why don't you? I'd like to bring Ted into the mix as far as I've known Ted for exactly, I think, about a week and a half. He came in through my back door, so to speak, through Brother Michael, who's the webmaster of Sui Juris, and then he told me he was standing in the breach with the PMG to create some excellent stuff with the PMG. So, he opened that door, and we've been talking ever since, and we can share a lot of commonalities. We share a lot of parallel roads, so it's real good that we're taking this thing from the Admiralty and bringing everybody back home to being proverbial landlubbers. Who would have thought two Navy guys bringing everybody in back to land? You got to like the irony there. Anyways, with that being said, Ted.
Thanks for that lead-in there, Peter. And it's been we've only known each other in the physical sense, I guess, for a short time, but I think we're definitely kindred spirits, and we've been traveling along the road parallel for quite some time. So, you and I have immediately been able to communicate on a very, very deep level, and I'm honored to call you my friend. Same with you, Kate. I'm just barely getting to know you, but listen to your show off and on, for quite some time, and I've certainly been enlightened by a lot of the topics and the wonderful guests you've had on. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that, as well to all your guests that you've had on throughout the recent past with the archives and so forth. I encourage everybody to get in there and dig into those archives, because you'll find some gold, that's for sure. Just a little bit about me. I don't want to talk a lot about me, but my journey along this path started when I was exiting the military. I was a military pilot in my former life. I've flown missions all over the planet for a long time. I was pretty much active duty for about 17 years, and due to some personal issues and so forth, I made a decision to resign my commission and move on. That was a very difficult process, and I had to reinvent myself in many ways. And one of the skills, one of the things that I was able to accomplish is this whole web thing, right? So I knew that the web was wonderful, and I just wanted to figure out how to harness it and generate some revenue and so forth. And was able to teach myself lots of things about how commerce works on the web and so forth, and how to build sites, and then about open source platforms and so forth and so on. And things, as I look back here, things just don't happen for a reason or without a reason. There's a reason why I was at the conference over in Virginia, the Churchianity General Conference, and met James McBride, and was able to come along board and offer my services to them, and we've been able to build a very, very stout.
Ted, can we get just, hey brother, can we just pick up just a little bit? We're getting a little like a muffled sound, sort of.
Okay, did you guys lose me? Hold on.
No, we got you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I guess it needs to speak up a little bit.
All right, hold on. Yeah, somehow it's. Let me just reconnect here my headset. All right, how about now? Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it's a little bit cleaner. You need to speak up like a Marine,
okay.
Dude.
All right, sorry about that. So when did that transition? When did I drop out? Because it looks like it switched from my headset to the phone for some reason.
You didn't actually cut out, Ted. So no, it was a bit scratchy. That's all. No, everything's good.
Okay. Well, anyway, so like I was saying, I've learned these skills, right? And I have the skills right now where I can build these magnificent sites and stand them up, and we've done that for the Divine Province and for the Postmaster General NA.org website. That the processes that we're putting in place. I'm a big process guy. Okay. In my first squadron, I was over in Japan, and I'll tell this quick story just to give you an idea. But our squadron was based just outside of Tokyo, and we would have helicopters on ships all over the Pacific. Okay, and every month we would have to track every single bullet, every single drop of gasoline, every nut, every bolt, every torpedo, every smoke flare, everything. And all that had to be consolidated. So these reports would come in to the operations department, and then all these reports would have to be consolidated and then sent out to the wing out in California. Well, when I got there, after I'd been deployed for about a year or so, they put me into the operations as the assistant operations guy. And I was floored at how we were doing this. I mean, the process would take them like 2 days solid. Work until midnight and all this craziness to get this report done. And, this was back in the, mid to late 90s. And there were databases, there were Excel spreadsheets and stuff. So I said, this looks like the way we're doing it isn't the most efficient way. I mean, they were literally tracking this stuff on graph paper, guys, okay? Graph paper with pencils, okay? So I implemented some things, right? And was able to consolidate all this data into a nice process flow where literally I would just import the stuff into a spreadsheet, run some macros, consolidate everything, spit out a message to California, and I'd go play golf. And these guys would be, what the hell are you doing, man? Why aren't you here till midnight? I was like, hey, the report's on your desk. Just chill, man. Everything's cool. So process is hugely important. especially with what we're doing with this Postmaster General processes. Okay, we've got a membership process where we're able to bring people in, and they are coming in by the boatload, okay? I mean, my email box is just blowing up with new member, new member, new member, new member, new member. And then what happens when you become a member, you're able to get access to the private side of the site. And in there's things like where you can input all the data so we can produce the 3 primary core Divine Providence documents. Those are the Writ of Curia, the Will and Testament, and the Final Order. Now, those are status documents. So those get reviewed by the team, but when that form is executed, it produces those 3 docs. Okay, so the members put this information in. It contains a lot of details. Their social information, their birth certificate information, their Social Security card, back of the red letter stuff, all their address, phone, email, their given names, so forth and so on, their mother, their father. All this gets consolidated and incorporated into these forms, and they get produced automatically. See, that's what computers do. They do things very well like that over and over and over again. That's why we can produce these documents for people almost instantaneously. Then we review them and then publish them to the Chancery roll, okay? In addition, we have the member ID process, very similar. So we've got ID orders coming in from all over the planet, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Mexico, all over the United States, Canada. I mean, it's just flowing in like crazy, okay? And how can we do that? How can we process these? Well, we're harnessing the power of, technology, and we're able to bring all this stuff in. I mean, you can, gone are the days, okay? I've filed plenty of legal documents with the local court, okay? And typically what I have to do is I've got to go and I've got to produce the document. Then I've got to go get it notarized. I got to go to my bank, get it notarized. Then I got to run down to the court, and I got to run to the clerk, and I got to beg her to stamp it, and all this nonsense. Well, meanwhile, the fat cat's sitting on his yacht, the lawyer, the attorney, the privileged, noble class is sitting there delegating voluminous motions to dismiss through his paralegals, and they're signing everything electronically with the /S/, right? Okay, they don't even bother signing the crap, and they've got their own little portal where they can submit their stuff to the courts. Well, you see, we are doing that for the Divine Providence membership. We can electronically sign all of our stuff. We have our documents going through 128-bit encryption. So, the documents are produced with a /S/, and then the file name. Members only can click on those elements and see the actual signatures. But in order for the public to do that, they would need to be, part of the. They would need to have access to the back. So the membership thing. Okay. Now, what's coming new? All right. What we didn't talk about. I know you mentioned this recently with Michael's case, and we'll get into that in a lot more detail. But one thing that was done by the Court of Chancery was they filed and they communicated directly with the court. You see, a court can communicate directly with a court. Me as a living being cannot. So the Court of Chancery filed a writ into Michael's case. That was a detail that wasn't really discussed much on the other calls that I've listened to. And how important is that? That's hugely important because you've got a court which is virtually the highest court in the land, communicating with this puny corporate court, wherever it is in Virginia or wherever. Okay, so when he shows up there and he's able to reassert his status as a living beneficiary to the estate, they're taking notice. And, I mean, his case, he walks out of there scot-free. Oh, and by the way, Michael, yes, you're free to go as well. I love that part. That was so cool.
It's like they were talking to 2 different personalities, the live man and the fiction in the same breath. Isn't that some ironic stuff right there?
Well, it's proof in the pudding, That's exactly what we all needed to hear. And isn't it wonderful that Archangel Michael showed up finally?
Absolutely. And that's one thing I want to say about the site now, okay? For example, for our membership, we are, that's what we've been working on this whole last week, the automated process for our members to be able to process writs, okay? So you're able to come in and order a writ, which means you provide us all the detail about you, the living beneficiary, the estate, the all caps information, any of the respondents who are in, part of this deal, anyone who's, accusing you or anyone who needs to be served, whether it be a law firm, whether it be a bank, whether it be a county court, whether it be a sheriff, anything, okay? You put all that information in there and you execute the document. What that does is it immediately creates the documents that the Court of Chancery needs to execute and sign and seal and then FedEx directly to these courts on your behalf. You see, you as a living being have no business executing writs. So I want to make that very, very clear, okay? You'll put these orders in and the Court of Chancery will serve them. And then, for example, in Michael's case, the writ had a 72-hour notice time limit. With writs related to real estate, for example, I believe we're looking at a 21-day time limit. Now, what happens if those writs are dishonored? Well, if they're dishonored and the order that is given from the higher court to this lower municipal, fictional court, if it's dishonored, then what they're jeopardizing is their bread and butter, their charter. You see, what you don't realize, guys, is most of these fictional entities, police departments, courts, everything, it's all corporate. They're all corporations. They're all incorporated. Therefore, they have a charter. The charter is granted by some authority. Now, the charter also explains what their rules and regs are. Okay, so if they are acting in dishonor, that for sure is one of the main violations and jeopardizes their charter. So they better tread very lightly. If they dishonor the members, okay, if they dishonor these legal requests from a superior court, they very soon will have their charters dissolved. Bye-bye. So how cool is that?
I love that. So in essence, will this come back in essence on their state bond or their corporate bond in that charter, because they're all supposed to be bonded. I always get it back on this bond stuff, but for the most part, I know all the officers of the courts, like the judges, the DAs, the public pretenders, the clerks, they're all flying without a net. I've had people research further, even on this end, going to the, it's called the, I'm having a brain fart now, risk management office. They won't get off the dime to give you any of their bonds. I've been saying this for years. They're all flying without a net. So they do have a primary bond in place, but it's only for the corporation directly, and their members are supposed to be under that umbrella to the best of my knowledge. However, after further research and consideration, I have a 43-page document that can prove that every case is supposed to be bonded. They bring to that front door on every case. I know we're not in Never Never Land. However, this is how they're operating in Never Never Land through their corporation courts. They're not putting up their own bond. In other words, no skin in the game, like Kate and I put. They have no skin in the game. What they do is they trick the fiction to coming in and answering up, and then they thereby what's called drafting them for performance, get them to stand into the breach. So in other words, the individual is almost like double dipped on the front end. First of all, they didn't know he was using his bond. They used trickery to get him to breach or get into the constructive trust by answering up, and then they don't use their bond to put the skin in the game. They just do a bait and switch and use your bond, which thereby is like a double dipping process, because they were supposed to put all state officers, i.e. DAs, public pretenders, clerks, and judges, are supposed to have their bond. Well, not basically the DA. He who brings the charge pays the damn bill is basically how it comes down to. So the DA who's bringing this crap on the behalf of the corporation, i.e. state, it's supposed to have his bond up for the case, every case. And I don't care if it's 4 charges, there better be 4 freaking bonds. So they don't never do that anymore because they've gotten away with their garbage for so long because the masses have been so far asleep and they didn't realize that it had nothing to do with civil or criminal. It's merely a money generation scam on a massive, massive scale, and every case has a dollar amount of it. Matter of fact, I've researched this further, so I got proof, and here we go. Everybody wonders how I come up with my information, but research will yield you major volumes. Every case, from a traffic ticket up to murder, has a different dollar stipend attached to it. So I know a gentleman in California who's got 4 felony charges. Every one of those felony charges is worth about $8 million a piece per quarter. And then if they get them into the warehouse as warehouse merchandise, i.e. Basically claiming the salvage bond and the surety, they are making even more. And yet they cry poverty because they're stuffing all these funds over into the private side accounts and the CAFR accounts, which you never has another issue altogether. Anyways, but so in essence, what I'm trying to get at, so based upon what you're saying is, through this process of moving forward, and they keep making these breaches to the divine province folks. In essence, that bond that they do have in play, they have one corporate bond, which they're supposed to all be umbrellaed under, would be probably in jeopardy, and they would basically go bye-bye and have no capacity or functionability in their corporate charter if it gets removed, because no company will underwrite a bad risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know the bond, and you explained it very, very well. And I've listened to your other calls when other shows when you were talking about like the Beatrice situation, how she got that case dismissed. That was beautiful. Okay, that was very powerful. But that's all on the Mammon side, right? That's all
right.
That's all on the side. Now, see, we have to make a very distinct definition here. We have to draw this line. Okay. Now, for me, I mean, all this process is just evolutionary in the sense that I've discovered this information. I've been involved and been able to get involved with the PMG-NA team here, all through providence, in my opinion. Okay, all these things are happening for a reason. It's a spiritual path. Okay, I know, and I believe. Okay, when I say I believe, it's coming straight from my heart. I am a spiritual being. Okay, I am a spiritual being. I'm having a human experience, and I think all humans know truly what I'm saying here. Okay, for so long we've been trapped in the monopoly game that they've set up. Okay,
yep.
They give us a token, they give us some monopoly money, but they never tell us the rules. Okay, so for years we've been pass and go, and we didn't know that we could get $200. All right, because we didn't know that rule, or we didn't know that if we picked up a chance card, it would get us in jail, line us in jail. Okay, so or we didn't know that we had to get out of jail free card. Well, see, now we're learning, and I love your analogy that you used, Peter, when you talk about the elephant and how when the elephant takes a poop, and he lays it there on the ground. Well, that poop represents the truth. Okay, and I challenge anybody who's ever been to the circus or ever been around an elephant that if you want to try to get that poop back up in that elephant, you go for it. Okay, it can't be done. Okay,
it ain't happening.
It's physically impossible. So the same thing with like the PMG-NA site. We've got this thing backed up on 4 international servers. It's behind an HTTPS SSL. Okay, so it's encrypted. Everything behind the site is all encrypted. Everything's on an SSL. All right, so it's impenetrable from the minions of cubicle dwelling NSA folks up the street. Okay, it's backed up on multiple servers in other countries. All right, and if you know anything about technology, if you know anything about Anonymous, for example, and you know anything about DOS attacks and so forth, when they shut down PayPal, when they shut down Visa, after in retribution for what they did to the WikiLeaks site and removed their ability to pull in donations through those two services, PayPal and Visa. Well, you see, our site can't be shut down because all we've got to do is literally I can go from anything, my mobile device, boom, 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 make a few checks, done. Now it's on this server over here in this country. Oh, now it's over on this one. Now it's on this one. See? It's like whack-a-mole. You can't kill it, all right? And just like people who think that Obama and his minions through his executive orders can shut down the Internet, wrong. All right? Just study. I encourage everyone to study what happened in Egypt when Mubarak attempted to shut down the Internet in Egypt. Okay? Anonymous came on board, and they set up dial-ups. The old technology, the old telephone technology, they set up dial-up connections for these people where they could still communicate to the outside world. And then they set up these networks of tweets and retweets. I mean, there's some awesome videos you can look on YouTube. Look for search for a global map of Egypt during the uprisings. And what it does is it shows you like from a bird's eye view of like 10,000 feet the area, and then it'll populate the map with a tweet. And each tweet shows up as like a red dot. I mean, it's like an explosion of red dots. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's freaking amazing to watch. And all this happened through, simple technologies like dial-up phone connections. So if they think they can shut down the Internet, they're totally mistaken. It can't happen. All right.
Cool.
So I want everyone to know about that. But yeah, so from a process side, all these things are being taken care of for the membership. And, for each person, if you want to make a decision, this is a spiritual path. There's a large spiritual component involved with wanting to consider even joining into the divine province, because I am in the divine province. I have my identification. I'm just so humbled to be part of that. I know it comes with awesome responsibility. You see, when I was in the military, as an officer in the military, we had a code, right? You go and you got a bunch of troops with you, and you're the last to eat, okay? Or you're respectful, and you handle yourself in a way in such that commands respect, okay? I never commanded respect from anybody. You earn respect. And in this realm of the divine province, we are truly operating with unlimited commercial liability, right? So that means I am liable for everything I do, everything I say, everything I do, and my realm stops where your realm begins. So if I infringe upon your realm, if I injure you or hurt you or damage your property, well then sure there's remedy. People think that in this new world which we're creating that there'll be no law and order. Well, that's not true. There still will be law and order. There will still be consequences for actions, but it's a complete paradigm shift. So I feel like I've monopolized the call maybe in.
No. Hey, brother.
Kate or
roll.
Kate or Peter can chime in about that and some of these responsibilities that are associated with acting on this ethereal plane. Acting as a true spiritual being. Okay. So I'm just so floored at how what I've learned about the human body is just, we are powerful. We are extremely powerful. We have the ability to manifest things. They don't know what 2/3 of the human DNA does. They don't know what the pineal gland's for, okay? Somebody knows because they've been pumping fluoride into our water supplies for centuries, or for decades anyway, and calcifying our pineal gland, okay? They've been pumping our subconscious with advertising nonstop, television, radio. You see, my mind is, let's say, operating 5% conscious. The other 95% is everything I've ever seen, every image, every video, every formula, every calculus equation, everything. Everything is all in there. And there's total recall in the subconscious. Now, I can't recall, exactly how I'm going to figure out the area of a, squiggly little graph using some calculus formula. I forgot that stuff, all right? My conscious mind did, but my subconscious remembers. Now, see, what you don't realize, guys, is that your subconscious is constantly being bombarded. And I'll just use a simple analogy. Okay, if I turn on the news tonight, I live in the metro D.C. area, and if I watch the Baltimore news, I'll see a show, and they'll tell me about how many murders there were, and this, that, and the other, and how many carjackings and everything else. So, you see, that's getting supplanted into my subconscious. Now, next time I'm riding in Baltimore, and I pull up at an intersection, and I look over and I see a bunch of homeless people sitting on there panhandling or whatever, I'm gonna grip that steering wheel. I'm gonna roll those windows up. I'm gonna be gripped with fear. And I don't know where that fear is coming from. It's coming from somewhere. Okay? I'm seeing all these people as murderers and thieves and so forth and so on. But if you don't allow that to enter into your world, okay, what you do is you see another human being. You see somebody who's on the side of the road that maybe something went wrong. Maybe they have a problem with drugs and alcohol. Maybe something like that. And maybe if I just pulled over and I got off my motorcycle and I walked over to this guy and I said to him something like, hey, man, I got no dime, but I got some time to hear your story. To quote a line from one of my favorite songs of all time, Grateful Dead, Wharf Rat. Okay?
Yep.
And you sit there and you listen to this man's story and you communicate with him as a human being. Maybe you can help that person. They're not a murderer. They're not a killer. They don't want to rob you. We're here. We're not here to be slaves. We're here to love.
I've got a question for you guys. Just come into the chat room, keeping close tabs on it tonight. It's busy. So there's questions for you guys. Can this process or part of it be used to repatriate my Social Security payments and become free but still control the SS bond and disbursements? This all gets handled in the private, yes?
Peter, do you know the answer to that?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. Go ahead. I was going to say I know the individual that's wrote this. Extremely honorable beyond 70 years of age, and kicking shit out of the system wherever he can. So
okay. I don't know. I can attempt to answer that question. I'm not an expert in this area, but I can perhaps relay something similar that might give you some more comprehension. So, for example, I'm a disabled veteran, okay, and I rely upon the VA for medical care and for pension benefits and so forth and so on. Now, you see, all that's earned through my straw man. Now, assuming that the system continues to operate, I will be still entitled to those benefits. The way it was explained to me by JT was, that those are things that have been earned from the system, and you're due them. Those are all payable through the strawman account. People think that if they come over to the divine province, that all of their accounts will vaporize. Well, they're not your accounts anyway. They're their accounts. They were created by them. It's their system. They set up the monopoly game. They set up the board. They set up the tokens. They set up everything. So I am, fully expecting and still continue to pull benefits from the system. Okay? So does that relate to this question and the Social Security benefits and so forth? My understanding, because JT addressed this at the last conference as well, was that, like if you're on SSI, if you're on a Social Security disability, well, a lot of people are. Your straw man has earned that through whatever qualification you've met to meet that criteria. Now, I know how hard it is to get it to begin with, so they turn down like 99% of the people who apply anyway. So those who are actually getting it, if they were to migrate into the divine province, well then, I don't see why it would go away, because, again, my understanding is that these accounts, their accounts, not yours, their accounts, stay open and active. Now, this gets into a whole other realm of, the birth certificate bonds and the accounts that have been created and all this money that's available and so forth and so on. That's coming. That will come. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I believe in the very near future, we will be able to access all those funds, whether it be through a debit card, whether it be through, we don't know yet. That's the beauty of tomorrow. Does that hopefully shed some light on the situation?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know if I lost you guys on this end or if Ted cut out there. I did have a question for Patrice. I might, I think she's listening in. Anyway, with regards to that, what you just talked about there, Ted, with regards to did you not lose your benefits when you resigned your commission? That was effectively her question, and she's ex Air Force captain, and
right.
yeah,
as far as being a veteran, I'm still a veteran, right? I still was honorably discharged, so I'm still eligible for all the benefits that are available to all veterans, right?
Exactly.
Educational, medical, all that stuff.
I actually last night dealing with an individual in one of the Skype rooms. As soon as this individual I was talking about there, the 70-year-old, had mentioned about the Social Security, the individual that jumped on top of it, well, is no longer in the room and no longer one of my contacts. But my attitude is very simply this: one, people like me, I'm only 48. I'm in the game hardcore, and I've subsisted on basically savings until now, which are basically gone. And I totally get why someone that has worked for those, 70 years, that's a long time, and that's a lot of money got put in. And you're right, most of the people don't even get a chance to get that back out. And I don't see an issue with people that have earned it, whether it be through the fictional realm or not. It's still something that belongs to them. It was earned, and I don't begrudge anything of that. And there will eventually be a way. This whole system's coming down anyway. But the bottom line is, if you've earned it, it's yours, and I don't see any dishonor in that. It's like people have to live, people have to survive, and again, it's you can deal with as many ferns as you want, but it is about the intent. You can use ferns to buy ammunition or baby food. What is the intent? So we like to think that we use them. Well, we don't like to think. We know we use them. We use the tools that we have against the system. That's the only way we can do it. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring that across. So I totally get what you're saying. And Patrice, if you are able, I'm not sure. I know two of the numbers are actually 1, 2. I've got two other callers here. I'm not sure what your area code is. If you can let me know in the chat room, that would be great. What your area code is. And okay, 15 minutes. Just give me a tag in the room here, and I'll bring you into the call. Just let me know what your area code is and the first three numbers, and then I'll try to write it all down. 401. Got it. Thank you. Okay, so anyway, Ted, Peter, back to you guys. And Tony, you can actually say hi,
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening to this information.
I just wanted people to know.
Let me just throw in a few more things here, okay? So
go.
What you guys don't realize here now is what Peter is exposed to with talking about the birth certificate scam. Okay, what people don't realize, I want to try to give someone a little bit more background on what the divine province is, and then how it interacts with the reality that we're in today. Well, let's first of all talk about the reality that we have. All right, most people, they look up and they think they see a blue sky, and they think they see a yellow sun. Well, I'm going to tell you that the sky is yellow and the sun is blue. Okay? Now, you might think I have three heads. That's okay. So, the first thing, before I even start saying anything else, I want you to put aside, anyone who's listening to this, put aside any preconceived notions that you think you know anything about anything. All right? So, and I've learned lots of stuff over this journey, and there's a fairly steep learning curve. So, you got to understand the foundation of how, for example, this whole thing got set up. Well, let's talk about that. So let's look at things like significant documents in history. The U.S. Constitution comes to mind. Okay? Other documents. Magna Carta. Okay? Let's talk about some other ones. Kate of Gaia Act of 1666. Let's talk about papal bulls for the 1400s. And let's go into that one a little bit further. You guys got to realize that through a papal decree in 14-something, I forget the exact year, the Pope, the papacy came out and said, we own the entire planet, and we own the dominion over all the souls into perpetuity. Now that is a legal document. It's still standing today. Never been refuted. It's a legal claim. Okay? So, how then, if they own the world and they own all the souls, how are they going to administer that? Well, they've got a quandary, don't they? They've got to do things. They've got to set some stuff up, some structure. So they set things up like countries. They set things up like posts. Now, what you got to understand, and this is where the Postmaster General ties in to. Starting to rain. I'm going to step under the awning here. You got to understand that they set all these things up. They set up these countries, and what's essential to a country is a post. So you must understand that relationship. One of the first things that we did when America was founded was we established a post. Benjamin Franklin was the first Postmaster General of North America, of the Americas. And he, in that capacity, signed all kinds of treaties with the indigenous tribes and so forth and so on. It's a very powerful office. The UPU was set up by the Vatican through the Crown and so forth, these constructs that they have of control. And they utilize that. The UPU is the oldest union in the world. It administers all the posts for all the countries. Now, in order for a country to exist, again, it has to have a post. Well, the divine province is country. It is set up in accordance with the regulations of the UPU. It is recognized by the UN. It is recognized by the Vatican. It is recognized by London, the Crown. It is recognized by the Governor-General of Canada. Okay, and any other country that subscribes to these treaties. So, the country code for Divine Province is 999. And we, as Divine Province members, are able to issue identification, diplomatic identification, and travel documents that are in accordance with all this treaty. Okay? So we're using existing systems, which, yes, they are fictional, but we're using them to interact with the world as it exists today. So, for example, when I travel 20 miles into the center of D.C. and I go to Embassy Row, I'll find the French Embassy, I'll find the German, the Dutch, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if I also find diplomats riding around in black Mercedes with diplomatic tags, and they'll have diplomatic identification. But let's say this French diplomat, he leaves the party, and he's driving the vehicle or he's driving the automobile, and he's swerving all over the place because he's drunk, and he gets pulled over. Okay, well this police officer now is going to run those plates, and they're going to show up in this system, and he's going to put on his white gloves, and he's going to talk to this person about the problem. Now, let's say there is no crime, really. I mean, if he's drunk, okay, there's really no crime. This diplomat's not going to be hauled into a local court, or a District of Columbia court system or any federal court system, because he is above the jurisdiction of the United States, which is incorporated after 1871, by the way. Okay, so now let's say this diplomat actually injures somebody. Let's say there's a car crash and someone's injured and he's drunk and he's at fault. Well, again, he's not going to be hauled into a court per se, locally. It would be handled through the French consulate. It'll be handled through the Secretary of State. It'll be handled in the courts of Title 18, Title 26 of the code that these countries feel on that kind of a level. Okay, so that's the level that the Divine Providence operates at. I am outside of the jurisdiction of the local police, the local authorities. And we're rapidly putting in process, like I was talking about the writ process, that can be applied to any legal case you have, whether it be criminal, whether it be traffic, whether it be family, whatever, whether it be foreclosure, etc. We're building specific processes for deeds. You see, all these constructs that they set up, right? We're getting back to the control thing. Well, you got to understand that in 1933, when the country was bankrupt and the government had to continue to operate, they had to give consideration to the moneyed men who run the show, and they had to offer up something of value. Well, what did they want? What did they get? Well, they got the birth certification process. They got the future value of the energy of all human beings that have a birth certificate. See, you didn't know that, okay? But that's what really happened, okay? So,
hey, Ted.
Yeah.
Ted, I can verify everything that you've said. I've already been down those roads. You were absolutely bang on the money, more than I've ever heard anyone talk about this particular subject. So, rock and roll, okay. You're bang on the money. Like, it doesn't get any more accurate. And Patrice, I'm going to make your mic hot, so just listen in for a bit, and we'll work this one beautiful tonight. Carry on, Ted.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
So getting back to the Monopoly game, right? So our moms went ahead and registered us as children. Back before 33 or whenever, I think it came out in 20, I forget exactly when they started the birth certification thing, but it was in the mid-30s. And before, if you were born, you were noted in a Bible, and the Bible was shut, and that was our record. Hey, yeah, my son, here he is. He's a living being. Yeah, there he is. Oh, you wanted to see something official? Well, here it is. This is the Bible. Okay, there you go. Any questions? All right, great. But now they've got this birth certificate process. And you see, when you study things like the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, it talks about, there's a clause in there where it says, it made unlawful involuntary servitude. Now, people are under the conception that after the Civil War, that it was all about freeing the slaves, and that's what the 14th Amendment was all about. Well, that's not true. What it was really about was, especially this provision, why didn't they just use the word slavery? Why didn't they just make slavery unlawful? You see, they're crafty, they're learned, these folks who write all this stuff. So they outlawed involuntary servitude, which when you look at it through a separate set of glasses now, you realize that voluntary servitude is lawful. So let's look at voluntary servitude. What would that be? Volunteering your child a birth certificate would be number one. How about volunteering for a driver's license? Volunteering for my property being enrolled into this fictional corporation of XYZ County Recorder, another corporation run for profit, by the way. Let's see. Let's talk about some other ones. How about Social Security cards? Voluntary again. And I could go on and on. You see? They've constructed all these things that are completely voluntary, and they assume since you are capable and you can sign your name and you can read, that you have understanding about what you're doing. Well, you signed the form. You volunteered to be under our jurisdiction. You signed the 1040. You volunteered to be under our little tax system. You volunteered to abide by the rules and regulations of the road, and you're now a driver, not a traveler. So you see, you're seen as a competent merchant, but you don't know the rules. You don't know the rules of the game. So how does that all resolve? Well, I'll tell you. Very easy. My property, for example, is in process of being removed from their fictional jurisdiction, XYZ County Recorder's Office, through a writ process through the Court of Chancery with an order that tells them, hey, this property is no longer under your jurisdiction. It is being removed. Thank you very much for playing. Please send us notification of this through your records and that it's been expunged from your little database. Okay? It's being done with driver's licenses. It's being done with vehicle tags. It's being done with any personal property that you own. Your deed to your vehicle, your automobile. Well, it's registered with their little system that tells me, I got to get my smog checked, or I got to have a little decal on my license plate. All this nonsense. Well, all that's going away. You see, because I'm taking all of my energy, my power, and I'm removing it from their warmongering system. Now, I was in the mix for 17 years, flying missions, SEAL teams, generals, all kinds of stuff, rubber dog crap, all over the planet. And I refuse to give them one more ounce of Ted's energy. And I encourage you all to do the same, you see? Because when you remove it from them, just like what Patrice did with this postal money order the other day, when she boxed it off and didn't allow him to hypothecate. You can just remove your energy stream. Because when you look at this from the biggest, highest level, all right, and I've really thought a lot about this, we are in a spiritual battle, guys, okay? All the books, all the sacred books, all, going back to all time, it's talked about this, about the battle between good and evil, right? It does exist. There are principalities involved here. Now, what you don't realize is that if I had the key, if I knew exactly what made man tick, if I knew the key elements of the subconscious and how I could control that with fear, or maybe I could control that with food, or I could control that with fluoride in the water, or I could control it with this and that and the other, okay? To keep you in a low-level energy state, keep you in fear, keep pummeling you with commercials and TV and movies and all this crap, keep your subconscious controlling you and keeping you locked in fear and gripping that steering wheel when you look at the bum on the side of the road and you think he's a murderer. You see how it all ties in? Okay? And, I gotta get my taxes in by April 15th, or I gotta get this sticker on my license plate, or I gotta do this, I gotta do that, how high, jump. No, I'm done jumping. Okay? It's over.
We have Patrice on the line. Hey. Yeah.
I'm done jumping too, Ted. Okay, don't even ask me how high. Okay.
Yeah. So now you understand the gravity of what you did when you took your signature and killed that document dead.
Mhm. And I'll do it again.
Yeah, we all do it.
Again.
I'm telling everyone their signatures and kill the document dead. Again, it's about Ted, you nailed it with the involuntary servitude. And these guys are wordsmiths. They're word tricksters, and that's why I chased after the language as hard as I did, right down to its creation. And, we are dealing with principalities here. And, you got to lose the fear, guys. Lose the fear, get in gear. And no one controls you but you, unless you choose otherwise. And we are coming into a brand new paradigm shift. And the world is, I got to tell you, here we are at the tail end of Libra in the balancing and the gathering of the groups and everything that's meant to be in the cosmos. And now we're moving into Scorpio, which starts Monday. And Scorpio is all about destruction. We take it down. And it's just, you just got to do something. It's not, I was doing a webinar last night, and the host at the end said, you got to go out and tell your friends and tell your family and everything else. And I said, I totally agree. However, I'm going to ask people to step it up a little bit. Stop telling people stuff. In kindergarten, we did a thing called show and tell. So you show people, and you don't have to do anything big. Look what Patrice did. Patrice, just on the record here for everyone listening, how hard was it to draw a box around your signature?
Oh, I I just did it because you said we should. So I thought, oh, it's some little tip that I didn't know I need to train myself to do. Like Ted, you know, I was in the Air Force, so you learn to do things, and then when they work, you're like, wow, okay, that was powerful. And we started this, you know, there's this transition. You know, Kate, we talked about 2 weeks ago, and I said people feel queasy. They don't want to, you know, it's new, it's uncomfortable. There's a paradigm shift. There's a lot of strange things that our minds and bodies will do to us. Ted he touched upon that a little earlier about how amazing our brains are and our bodies are, and they will inform us, and they will tell us things, but we've been taught to distrust those things. And so when you reclaim that, and you've done such a phenomenal job with the words, Kate. I mean, we started out, I have a very good dear friend who's worked so hard for so long trying to help people in Rhode Island, and she says writing truth to power, that it's very important to write what you write, being careful with your words and all of that, and I know that's a part of your work. And so writing truth to power is very important. And, you know, with giving voice is also important. So I said, well, let's extend that to speaking truth to power. And that's what the radio shows are, and about us having the meetings and having the dialogue. We have to keep talking to one another and not be separated. So coming together, like you said, is very good. Having the conversation is very good. So we went from writing truth to power to speaking truth to power, and eventually we will move into being truth to power.
Absolutely.
And
this is
that's what
Ted
people have to move through those stages with the written word, the spoken word, and then just being who you are.
Exactly right. And I want to flesh this out just a little bit more, okay? Because there's evidence everywhere. There's evidence everywhere. When I ride my motorcycle through the country, okay, and I see the process of a field of corn growing from sprout to 6 feet tall over a month or so. Okay, what's really going on there? Well, yeah, the farmer had something to do with it. He tilled the soil. He fertilized. He planted the seed, but he didn't grow the crop. Okay, that came from the Creator. Okay, and all he did was set up the conditions, and then the corn grew. All right. So there are amazing things happening. Like there's this group up in northern Scotland that since the 40s and 50s they've been growing plants, amazing plants up there in an extreme northern climate that you would never expect they'd be capable of doing, but they're doing it by harnessing spiritual energy to do it. Okay, through prayer, through meditation, through all these different things. Now, I'm going to share two other stories here, and what you must realize is that the powers that be have, for centuries, they've suppressed knowledge, they've suppressed truth. There's a doctor by the name of Dr. Lipton, who back in the late 60s, early 70s, was doing stem cell research and cutting edge front line of research into what these stem cells were all about. And what he did was he took stem cells and multiplied them from the same source, so the same DNA, right? And then he said, all right, well, I'm going to put them in these petri dishes, and I'm going to give them everything they need, all the nutrition that they need, right? So they can thrive and grow and multiply and so forth and so on. Well, then what he said was, hey, I'm going to change the chemistry slightly of each dish, and he set up a few different dishes. And he changed the chemistry, okay? And then something really amazing happened. These cells over here in dish A, they grew into bone. These cells over here, they grew into the hair. These cells over here grew into muscle, okay? The same DNA. You see, now, if you study conventional science, they'll tell you that DNA is hereditary. And you, for example, if my father or my grandfather had heart disease, well, then I'm going to have heart disease because it's in my DNA. You see, that's planted in my subconscious now, and I'm manifesting that. I'm saying, oh, I'm going to have heart disease. I'm going to have heart disease. I'm going to have heart disease, right? And then I get heart disease. Oh, go figure. Okay, now let's talk about the petri dishes. You see, all they did was change the chemistry of each petri dish. Now think of your body as a petri dish. Your body is providing you, through your circulatory system and your nervous system and skeletal system, everything it needs. It's washing all the cells over with nutrition and so forth and so on. Now, if I look into my woods right now, this second, and a bear comes out and growls at me and runs after me and tries to kill me, what's going to happen? My brain is going to inject a massive amount of dopamine and adrenaline into my bloodstream. It's going to change the chemistry of my petri dish. And I'm going to be able to run like the wind, okay, to escape this thing and possibly live, right? Well, you see, that's what manifestation is all about. You know, if you're continually allowing your subconscious control to rule your mind and say, hey, I'm going to have heart disease, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that, I'm going to have cancer because my mom had cancer, my dad had cancer, I'm going to have cancer too. You see, it's in your subconscious, and you're manifesting that, and all of a sudden you get cancer. Oh, go figure. The power is in the mind. That's what it is. That's where it is. You have the power to control that. Now, let me tell another story. This is related to manifestation. There's this buddy of mine. His name is Joe. He sells $100,000 lasers to plastic surgeons who do hair removal, and they do endoscopy, and they do all this stuff, low invasive procedures, and this, that, and the other, and he sells these machines, and that's what he does. And we were having this conversation about a month or so ago, and he was going down this negative road with me. He was saying how he hasn't been selling anything, and this, that, and the other, and negative. And I was like, oh, hold on, pal. We're not going down that road. This is what you need to do, Joe. You need to harness the power that you have. Okay? You need to know in your mind that these sales are already done. And that needs to travel down to your heart. The heart, which is the strongest electrical organ of the body. Okay? If you hook up an EKG to the heart, you can measure that electricity with the little bleeps on the screen. They have a similar thing that they can hook to your mind called an electroencephalogram, and they can measure that electricity as well. If you can compare the electrical output from the mind to the heart, depending on the person, it's typically between 100 to 300 times stronger. The heart is 300 times stronger than that of the mind. Everything that has electricity has a corresponding magnetic field. The magnetic field that's produced by the heart is 1,000 times stronger than that of the mind. So let me ask you, if you had to go below a huge Walmart-sized parking lot that's full of leaves, and you had a backpack, 2 backpack blowers to use, and one was 10 horsepower and the other one was 1,000 horsepower, which one would you rather have? Okay? So you got to learn how to do this. You got to learn how to manifest. So let me get back to Joe. So we were talking about this process and how you do this and how you control what you're emanating. I was telling him how the sale's already done. When you walk into these offices, you're not there to sell them anything. It's already done. You manifest it such. It's already done. You're there to be cordial, drink a cup of coffee, smile, whatever. So we finished the conversation. About 10 minutes goes by, and I get a call back from Joe. He says, hey, Ted, you're never going to believe it. I said, try me, buddy. He says, right when we were talking about that, about me believing about these sales, my phone was beeping, and I didn't take it because it was important what we were discussing, and I didn't take the call. Well, it turns out it's this practice that I've been calling on for a long time of doctors, and it's a big practice. And I was convinced that I would never sell them anything, and they just placed an order for $200,000 laser. The instant that he believed this, it happened. Now, you can say that this is all coincidence, but I say not, okay? One more thing I want to say. There's another story, and Dr. Lipton tells this story, but I'm going to paraphrase it. There's two of these baby girls that are born 2 months premature. So they're very small. They're very teeny tiny little creatures, and so they're put into separate incubators in the hospital. And the one girl is strong, she's okay, but the other one's much weaker, and she continues to weaken. Her vital signs continue to go down. Everything they try, all the modern technology, all the therapies, all the medicines, everything is not working. He's going to die. So this nurse who's attending says, something, this is outside of protocol. I'm going to break protocol here, and I'm following my heart. And she takes this little baby, and she lays her down next to her sister. Okay? And her sister does one thing. She reaches over with her arm, and she puts her arm around her sibling. And from that instant forward, she starts to recover. She starts to get stronger. She starts to eat. She starts to use the bathroom. She's alive and well today. Okay, so the things that we have are gifts. I believe that each one of us has tremendous gifts, like this little baby girl. She was not a graduate of Harvard Medical School. She hadn't been to see any guru doctor about healing or anything. We all have these gifts. But from inception, we're vaccinated, indoctrinated, trained, educated, bombarded with advertising to teach us and strip away all our gifts. So I will get off my soapbox now.
Oh, hey, Ted, I'm really enjoying your soapbox, and so are the people in the chat room. And you're putting it so eloquently.
The healing thing is so important because we get traumatized, the core, it's the way we've been lied to. Lying is such a psychologically violent thing, and you find out that this huge fraud has been perpetrated on your whole life, your family, everything you understand. It's a psychic injury, and the brain is such a powerful thing. What you're talking about is self-healing and how you can control your own healing. And Bruce Lipton, Ted is right. Dr. Bruce Lipton has done a phenomenal amount of work in America. There's also another Dr. Hammer, Dr. Richard Geert Hammer. He's a German guy, and if you look up on the web, German New Medicine, there's a phenomenal chart of how the brain will record every single thing in your life, and you either generate a body injury from that or an illness, what we typically call in the West an illness, like cancer or something else like that, heart disease and all these things. And also your ability to heal. That those are cycles and frequencies and energy values, like Ted was talking about, and mechanisms to understand your own strength or weakness of manifesting, ergo your own strength or weakness to heal. And so you may have an injury, you may be psychically injured, and therefore you get stroke or cancer or too much stress in your life and things happen. You can also counteract them with healing, and he has done. This is talk about a guy where the system is thrown him in jail, called him an outrage. He's a heretic and everything else, because he was empowering people again to understand the power of their own minds and the factor of where you can actually. They use CAT scans to look at the brain, and they can look at a brain and tell pretty much everything you've been, if you were assaulted or any things that a tremendous loss that you've had in your life, a disability or loss of a child or a parent or some other kind of traumatic event. Those all show up in the brain, and they may or may not generate illness, again, based on your ability to manifest healing or understanding or believe in your own powers to manifest. He has phenomenal body of knowledge that's been out for decades, and it's been highly suppressed by the powers that be. So Bruce Lipton has done a lot of work. There's a Japanese guy that's talked a lot about the patterns of water, and our bodies are made up a lot of water. And so even the patterns of water are very important. So words, like Kate always talks about words, even simple words like thank you will show up differently in a body of water than something like I hate you. They will alter the pattern of the water, and they alter our beings and our thought and our deed. Everything that Ted is talking about, everything that James talks about, divine promise, everything about being honorable in thought and deed, manifesting that power, being the truth to power, is so far more powerful than we're even able to describe on this radio show, even though some of us get glimpses of it and we get that echo of our divine self, really fully living it every day. We're just scratching the surface, and we can help one another in so many powerful ways by constantly sharing and talking and empowering and connecting. This work on the radio and this work that the Divine Province is doing in very tactical ways is so important for us to make the shift together. And you shouldn't be afraid of what your mind and body is doing in response to that. It's okay to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it shouldn't promote fear. It should feel. You should feel. Invite that. These changes, these differences. Invite that. Although many people have been taught to fear their own bodies, like Ted was talking about. Oh, you're predisposed to heart disease. That fear starts with self. We have to stop fearing the symptoms that our own minds and bodies give to us, and start to shift a little bit, and think about the power to heal yourself and calm yourself. And be
exactly
here
right.
now.
And let me jump in and maybe flesh this out a little bit more. So you were talking about the Japanese researcher who's done studies on water, water and rice. If you study the Japanese, if you YouTube search or Google search the Japanese rice experiment or water experiment, what they've done there is they take the exact rice specimen, they cook it up, they put it in two separate rice containers, Tupperware containers, and then they separate them in two separate controlled rooms. And one they label love rice, and the other one they label hate rice. And then they have to go in and communicate with this rice from a place of love, with love language, with love words, and all these happy thoughts and feelings. And then they do the opposite with the other. Okay, and what happens over time is amazing. The rice, the love rice, stays about the same. It looks white, it looks clean, and so forth. But the rice on the other side, the hate rice, turns all black and nasty and disgusting and moldy.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right. And
same thing with
hidden
water.
messages in water. You're talking about Emoto's work, right? Hidden messages in water.
Exactly.
You Google that, you'll find like you said.
And they have also done studies with water samples, the same water source, and they put water in a controlled environment, a very sterile environment, and they put water in a spiritual environment. And then they examine it under the microscope. And the water that's under a spiritual environment, just sitting there next to in a monastery or in a church or something like that, then they examine the water afterwards, and it takes on, if you've ever seen a snowflake under a microscope, it takes on these immaculate crystalline formations and beautiful structures. So how do you explain that? Okay.
That's right. So and the photographs are available in a book now. People can look at that. Those crystals you're talking about, they photographed them. Yeah.
Let's take this a little bit further now. So you've heard stories where, like, you have twins, right, that are identical twins or something, and they're separated by hundreds of miles, thousands of miles even, and one of them experiences a trauma, and the other one feels it and makes a phone call. So what happened? Okay, how does that happen? How can you explain that? Okay, maybe it's psychic. I don't know. Okay, they take subatomic particles, okay, and they separate them by great distance, and then they influence one and they observe the other, and they watch the change in the one that's not being touched or influenced at all. It changes. It reacts as if it was the same, you see. So what I take from that is that we're all one. We are. Okay? And the things, like, for example, when my heart transmits, okay, they have devices where they can measure this transmission from 10 feet away. Now, with any radio transmission, you have the power of the transmitter, and then you also have to look at the receptive nature and the sensitivity of the receiver. So let's say they have a device where they can measure my heart output from 10 feet away. Well, yeah, certainly it has something to do with the power of my transmitter, but in my opinion, it more relates to the lack of sensitivity of that receiver. You see, I believe when I'm transmitting that my energy field is being transmitted not just 10 feet away, not just miles away. My transmissions are being received galaxies away. Now, that may blow you out of the sky, but it might. I don't care. But if you have the sensitive enough receiver, the studies that they've done on the quantum level, okay, I'm working directly with the WITS team, WITTS. You guys need to look this up. It stands for World Improvement Through the Spirit Ministry. This was established over 200 years ago by a guy named Faraday. If you know anything about electricity, you'll know that name. Okay. Also, people who were involved in the ministry, they called it the ministry, was Nikola Tesla. And one of Nikola Tesla's prime motivations was to be able to provide free energy to people. Could you imagine? See, here in America, we have the luxury of being able to pay a $300-400 a month electric bill, right? Well, Most of the world doesn't have that luxury. Most of the world is spent most of their time and energy hauling wood and water for their sustenance. Now, could you imagine if you could harness the power of the quantum? And that's what Tesla was doing. He was transmitting, he had technology a long time ago, over 100 years ago, where he could transmit energy from one source to multiple other locations into a receiver with virtually zero loss. Now, his labs were burned. He was shut down. He was suppressed, you see? Because J.P. Morgan and his control, he wanted to be able to meter the electricity. Now, when you study electricity at all, you know that if you push energy through a wire, you have resistance, and you have significant losses. I mean, the efficiency losses are just ridiculous with even the best modern technology we have. Now, let's talk about windmills. Okay, a windmill. If I just crawl out of a cave today, and I looked out, and I'm over on the eastern shore of Maryland, and I see one of these big windmills that got set up, I'll be like looking at it going, that's interesting, what's that? And I might be able to feel a little bit wind on my face, right? And I see this thing spinning around, and I see it connected to like a building, and I see another building next to it, whirring and buzzing and lights on there and stuff, and I see other stuff connected to that, and I see, them making stuff. Maybe they're manufacturing bicycle tires or who knows what, okay? And I'd be able to deduce and say, they're getting energy from this, whatever this is, this wind. Maybe it's this thing hitting my face. Okay, but now think about the quantum. The quantum, we are being bombarded right now by billions and billions and billions of small subatomic particles into the planet, passing through all of us, everything, all the matter. Okay, now what if I had a device that I could put up there, just like a windmill, that would capture that, transfer that into energy that we could use? I'm telling you, we have the technology today. It exists. The team, I went earlier this summer, I drove up to Ohio, and I met with one of the primary members of the WIC team. I made a donation to their ministry, and we had a long conversation about this. But they have technology now. They already have it. They already have the technology where they can build these generators between 15 to 40 kVA output that I could run my entire house on. I could run my whole community. I could set these up all over the planet. I could set them up in Africa and all these villages. And then they wouldn't have to haul water because they could pump it out of a well. They wouldn't have to, haul firewood. And then all of a sudden, they could free their mind, and they could be, thinking about things more important, like, life and doing something good for someone else. So that's where we're going. That's where this all is going. It's all going this way. And so many things are happening all at the same time. I'm just so excited. I've never felt more alive in my entire life. I'm just so grateful. I'm so honored to be on this show, to be part of the Postmaster General, the Divine Province, the WIC team. I mean, everything. It's just amazing.
You know what, Ted? The honor is shared, and I'll say that for me, but I know I'm speaking for all those in the chat room and all those that are on the call, Patrice and Peter and Tony, and I know Deatra, everybody. And I got to tell you, I am just sitting here in a beautiful space right now of finally knowing what we need to do to get this done. And it is now right there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's now. It's exactly right.
It's before us. Yes, it's what
Peter said it. We're creating our own reality. This website went live a week ago Monday. Okay, it's barely been up for like 10 days, not even that. The instant it was opened up, we had members joining from Australia like nuts, like crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was, what the hell's going on? It's like new member. Holy crap! What happened?
It's just gonna get busier, Ted, because the word's getting out, and and it's constantly going out. I mean, every email I'm sending, I know goes far and wide. I know Tony, everyone that is involved with this to get everything going, and the people that I've had the honor to be associated with in their travels and trials and tribulations, and not a very big group, I will add. But to sit here today knowing what has transpired this week alone, I've been sitting here just in awe. I really don't have much to say, and that's saying a lot coming from the tranny mouthpiece. Okay, seriously.
Well, I mean, when you go back to what we were talking about before, about all these constructs that they've set up, all these control mechanisms, they've set these systems up, and they're destined to fail, because the monetary system that they have is completely unsustainable. All right. The other systems of control of being able to, they're setting up speed cameras on every single intersection now. They're harassing people beyond belief, and folks are just something's happening. I don't know what's going on, whether it's cosmic, whether there's cosmic radiation bombarding the planet and unlocking portions of our DNA. I really don't know what's happening. But people are waking up in droves, and they're saying, I don't like this anymore. This isn't fun anymore. This Monopoly game sucks. I want to go home. Okay? And the good news is that if you're in a country that has a birth certificate system, that has driver's license registration, and you have fictional entities such as county recorder's office and DMV and this, that, and the other, they've built all this on quicksand. They've built all these constructs, all these fictions on quicksand, and they're about ready to fall into the swamp.
Mhm.
And comparatively, the Divine Province is built on granite. It's in accordance with international treaties. It's built on a solid foundation. It has the UPU backing. It has solid foundation. It's not. We're not taxing. We're not levying. We honor your right to travel. You want to travel? You use a travel permit. You have a travel identification. You have travel tags on your vehicle. Transfer your ownership. Take it away. You see, what they've done for centuries is they've harnessed our energy. This is what it's all been about. They've figured out a way. They knew what really made man tick. You study some history. You study some of the ruins that they found throughout the planet. They have this medallion they found, I think, down in Central South America, maybe somewhere, that is thousands of years old. And when you look at it, it's got these pie slivers in it, right? And it shows the egg. It shows the sperm in the first one, and then it shows the join, and then it shows multiplication, and then it shows a baby boy and a baby girl forming. It's in this little pictograph thing. Now, they knew this 2,000 years ago, or 3,000, or however many thousands of years ago. All right? They knew all about it. They knew all about genetics. Okay? Let's talk about the Bosnian Pyramid. They found this thing in 2008. This is one of the world's largest pyramids on the planet. How they missed it for so long, I have no clue. It's all overgrown, but when you look at it, you're like, yeah, damn, that's a pyramid, all right. Well, they've gone up to the top of it, and guess what? They take these sensitive measuring devices, and they measure, like, above the top, right at the apex of this thing. It's transmitting a frequency of 28 kilohertz. And then when they measure it at 50 feet, it gets stronger. When they measure it at 100 feet, it gets even stronger. Okay?
Non-linear.
So figure that one out.
Hey, Tony, why don't you jump in on this for a minute, just to, because I know you're just chomping at the bit to talk about Bosnian pyramids. So.
Yeah, I sat down and had a very long conversation with Sam Azramovich that was mentioned actually tonight, as it happens, in the chat room. But yeah, I basically sat down with Sam and went over the scientific information he'd found, including ionizing radiation, non-linear energy fields, the energy fields coming out of the tops of the pyramids, etc. And he was just absolutely blown away, and he invited me out to Bosnia to go and help him out at the pyramids. But as I put in the chat room earlier, I happened to give my name away, or give my name back to the Attorney General before I went to use my passport, so I never went. But all interesting stuff, and you see, this is the point, guys. If we understand that they had all of this technology back then, it's purely a case of hiding it ever since, and that's all they've done.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is for the record too. I have a membership with DP. I just haven't had the chance or the time. I've still got to order another birth certificate again because I gave mine to the court on that video. I could probably just go down and pick it up off them. They're supposed to be holding that stuff. But anyway, I haven't even had the time to take care of business myself, trying to get the word out. And Tony, I know you're on the DP rolls now, yes?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. See, so it's hey guys, you can stay in Babylon. We're trying to leave the keys behind for people if they want to, play. At least we've got a rear guard action for you. But the bottom line is know yourself and get out. This is what we've all been working for, not waiting for, working for.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, carry on, guys. I mean, I'm actually really enjoying the show tonight. I don't have to say much, and I'm really liking this.
Kate, did you see what I wrote you? I said, how do you like me being incognito? I mean, it's all good. I'm coasting tonight.
Oh, this is you know what, Peter. Given and Patrice too. Given the output that we've been railing for the last 2 weeks on the air, it's really nice to hear Tony and Ted have a little chat. So. You know what, guys? Carry on. Just to let you know, I mean, this our show has felt like about 5 minutes, and we're an hour and a half in. Okay, it's a 2-hour show. I could talk or listen to you guys talk all night, because what you're doing, Ted, is verifying everything that I know I've already been through, and watching all these little dots connect, and. There's nothing more beautiful than a truth that resonates, and when someone else says, "Yeah, I saw that movie too," that whole effect.
Yeah.
And this is that's why I want to listen, because everything is resonating so beautifully.
Well,
it's contagious.
This has been awesome.
It's contagious.
Yeah, and what's so cool is that all this is happening in due time. This is happening why it's supposed to happen now. This is why it's all meant to happen. All right, and I'm in place. I have the skills that I have for a reason. There are no coincidences. Okay? Each one of us has gifts. Each one of us has special gifts. And I quit. I had a when I left the military, and I was considering going back to flying and doing other things. I went to work for a guy that I used to play lacrosse with, and one of my college buddies, and I was working as a headhunter. Okay? And we had all these high-dollar contracts with all these alphabet soup agencies filling all these high-level positions with these guys with 100-pound heads who, were building algorithms on how to figure the way to, who knows, steal civil liberties from people and so forth and so on. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And I just quit. I was like, F this. And that was in March, okay? And I've been working without a net ever since. And people ask me, so what do you do now, Ted? How do you make an income? Where do you get your money? Where do you do this? What about that? And I bring up the Bible verse. I say, look, and I'm not a Bible plumper at all, but I know in my heart that there's truth in all these books. Okay.
Yeah, they're pure truth. You just got to learn how to read them right.
They've been manipulated and everything else, but so what? So the verse that talks about the birds, I look around, I see all these birds, I see the geese flying by. They're not all that worried about anything. They're just having a good time, flapping their wings, enjoying life. And then they land in a field, and hey, check it out, guys. There's some food over here. Check it out. Yeah, great. Let's eat. Oh, good. Okay, let's fly some more. Yeah, let's go. All right. So they, our Creator wants us to be like the birds, and not to worry about where our next meal is coming from, and live today, because tomorrow doesn't exist. Okay, and I've started doing that, and people ask me now, so what do I do? I said, this is what I do now. Okay, I no longer work. I gave up working. I do what
I had that trouble too, Ted. People ask me, geez, what are you doing? I have the same problem, Ted. I went rogue in May, so I was right behind you. You quit in March, and I went on what everyone terms my summer sabbatical in May, which just never ended. Summer's over, but I'm not. So.
Well, so my response is this: I say I no longer work. Okay. What I do today is I do what I love for those I love, and I encourage everyone to do that. I run multiple businesses. I run multiple businesses. I build websites for clients all over the planet. Okay, I run a fundraising business. for hundreds of thousands of people, helping them raise money for stuff. But I don't work anymore. I do what I love for those I love, and that's it.
Right.
You see?
Right.
And I encourage all people to do that, because I believe when the system does come crashing down, if all of a sudden everyone's bills got eliminated, I mean, if they would have taken the TARP fund and paid off every mortgage in the United States, they could have done that, and no one would have a mortgage payment. Imagine if you had no bills at all, okay? Would you still go to work? Would you ride in rush hour traffic hours in a day and do all that? I think most people would not do that. They wouldn't go to some cubicle making, pushing this pile of paper to this other pile of paper.
Right.
They would not do that. But they would still do something. They all wouldn't just sit around and lay around and eat bonbons. They would do what they love, and they would care for others. And they would, someone said to me, "Oh, no one would grow any food. No one would do anything." I said, "Bull crap. The farmer loves to farm.
True.
He
Right.
would still farm. He would still grow. He would still do whatever."
I gotta tell you, I took a sabbatical from my life basically 3 years ago, and my life was music, and that was one of the things I could never do. Sell out, had offers, and was signed in Nashville, and could have had the world by the tail, but I never saw my songs as anything. And this is coming from a two-spirit, so I need people to get the concept. There was no way I could give birth to children in the physical sense, so all my songs are my children, and they weren't for sale. They were gifts to everyone. And that's all I want to do. I just want to get back to playing again. I just, I miss my heart. So, anyway, the game's almost over now, and I know that. I feel that in my heart, and that's all I can resonate. And, there is anticipation. I can feel it when I talk to people. I can see it in their eyes, and they know things are changing. And they know things are getting better, regardless of what the media is trying to slop into the, into the pig pit. There's still going to be some that are going to, be caught up in the illusion, absolutely. But when the system comes crashing down, and all of a sudden, like back in 2003, when all the power went out in this section of North America, everyone came together. In a way, there was no 60 hertz cycle programming. There was no programming. Digital waves coming across TVs and everything else. It was pure calm, pure peace. You could see the heavens finally, and everyone just chipped in and helped everyone else out. There was no panic. It was beautiful. It was peace, like I've never seen. It was 3 days of solid peace. It was beautiful.
Yeah, we had a derecho come through Metro DC area earlier this summer. It was definitely harp. It was some kind of harp thing they created. And it just came out of nowhere and just stirred up, and this huge electrical storm came across Maryland and stuff and wiped out like 6 million people's power, right? So everyone's, without power, and they're all hanging around. And like I noticed right after that, like during that whole thing, and I'd go to a gas station, if they had gas or whatever, and all of a sudden people are starting to talk to each other, like, "Hey, how are you? What's up? Oh, do you guys have power? No. Oh, yeah, we don't have power either," and or whatever. And all of a sudden you start communicating with your neighbor. Or I go to my neighbor's house and say, "Everything okay? You guys all right? You need anything? You guys got everything you need and stuff?" And all of a sudden we start being a community again. You see, people think that everything's going to come crashing down, and we're just there's going to be lawlessness and people running around with guns and knives and killing everybody. Well, yeah, that might happen in pockets, but if you eliminated the need for money, why would there be motivation to steal? If you eliminated, there would be no motivation to do that. Why would they do that?
Right. Right.
Yeah, and people, like one of the things that I will go back to the 2003 grid power out again. The grid that I was on, where my house is, and it's still there. It's boarded up. They can't do anything with it. Long story. But anyway, I'll be back home shortly. Grid of all of North America to get turned back on. So I was 4 days without electricity. But what I did was we had a full freezer and my barbecue. I had lots of spare tanks, and I fed as many people as could get over for that entire 4 days. So the food, one, wouldn't go to waste, and two, it was a party. I had a huge backyard, so it was just a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody say something. Come on, jump in, have fun.
Well, hey, no, No, Ted hit a good point. Everybody comes home and climbs into their cubby hole. I see it in the community I'm in, and this is a pocket of a relatively small community, folks. It's about maybe a population of 2,000, and everybody just comes and crawls in their door. I'm sort of the social butterfly. I come out on my porch, and they get to hear me banter, and they know I'm talking about some serious stuff. They just can't figure out what the hell I'm talking about because my voice does boom. And my next-door neighbor, she's a sweetheart. She's an older lady, and I always say hey to her and show her some love. And I wave to the cross and to the left, to the right, because hey, I'm not a stranger. But I get talking on the back porch, especially dealing with this bond stuff and these other issues and whatever. And she goes, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but it sounds really good. So hey, so there is a little love in this community, but for the most part, I see in the world, everybody just climbs back into their box, and there's no social integration on any level except for I got to hurry up and run home and climb into my cubby hole and go get in front of the idiot box and get my lamestream media and bind myself up into my own screwy world instead of a system of community. So that's going to change, I think. It's going to come back. I think we're coming back that way on a different level out of necessity,
Yeah, so that's how it happens. So how is it now happening? Well, it happens one person at a time. It happens one conversation at a time. It happens one heart change at a time. I mean, I was at my daughter's field hockey game a couple nights ago, and I struck up a conversation with a man. Right? He's got a son who's playing lacrosse at University of Maryland, Baltimore College, UMBC. So we started talking about that, and it turns out he's an FBI agent, and he's military reserve. He's a military police officer. So I said to him, hey, we started talking about all this stuff with regard to like the NDAA and all these executive orders and this, that, and the other. And I asked him some questions about the Federal Reserve. And this guy is a career FBI agent. He had no clue that the Federal Reserve was a for-profit, privately run.
There's your proof, Ted, on everything's compartmentalized. I've been saying it for years. Everything's compartmentalized.
Right. And then it's funny because that conversation ended, and then this other lady came in. She came late, right? She's a high-powered attorney, right? She does estate planning for $5 to $20 million estate, right? Yeah, big dollars, right? And she was at some class learning about the rules and the IRS and all this baloney and so forth, and then what the changes are coming, and she's got to go do this continuing education. So I said to her, again, we got onto subjects related to, well, what if, so you're saying that these people are paying chief taxes to the IRS, and I asked her questions about the IRS, like, well, do you realize that that's not even a government organization, right? That's based in Puerto Rico, and her head starts spinning. And then I said to her, well, what if there was a way for your clients, perhaps, to protect all their assets, and completely get out of the system? And her head started spinning around the other way. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is fun. So you plant seeds. You just plant a seed here, plant a seed there, plant a seed here, over there, wherever it go. And it's one conversation at a time. It's one heart at a time. It's one blog talk radio show at a time. It's one letter. I sent an email because I'm a member of the Google group Creditors in Commerce, and I'm always lurking there and watching and reading the different stuff that people are talking about, the mastery of all these legal processes and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. But you see, what I've realized, through own personal pain and experience, is that it's their game. Okay? They set it up. They got all the rules. They got all the occult knowledge that they're not going to tell you ever, that you're never going to know. And no matter how good you think you are, no matter how knowledgeable you think you are, no matter how savvy you are with the words and the Latin and the this and the that and all this stuff, you're still going to lose, okay? It's a rigged game. It's like thinking you're going to go to Vegas with $100,000 and you're going to play the tables and you're going to walk out of there with anything in your pocket. It ain't going to happen, okay? It's rigged, So what I made the choice, when I realized, when I took all this stuff in, I said, you know what? James Thomas McBride, he's got some pretty interesting philosophies on going to peace and what that's all about. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Going to peace. Yeah, okay. I like that. All right. Yeah, I want to be at peace. I don't want to be agitated by all this legal mumbo-jumbo and studying all these statutes and this, that, and the other crap. Why? I want to go ride my motorcycle out into the hills of Western Maryland and just get lost and look at the trees and sit and have church coffee. That's what I want to do.
Right. Right.
Right.
Well, everyone it's a personal process, though. That when I talk to newcomers, like you said, you were spinning a couple of heads at the game. For the FBI agent and the tax attorney, whatever. People, it's important to remind newcomers that once they find out this fraud has happened and the violation that we all go through that phase of being completely and totally outraged before we come to peace. We go through that anger phase, right? Peter has talked about the 5 phases of death, it's a grieving process, right? So you go through that anger phase, you're totally outraged. And I try to remind people when I recognize they're in that phase that we cannot demonize every clerk. Like you said with the FBI agent, he had no clue, even though he works in it, so we think they almost know they're all in on the rig. And I'm like, no, even a simple person who's working with them, and I'm like, think about the Enron scandal. I said the people that worked there that were just as victimized by the malfeasance of the people at the top had no clue that their own organization was being run that way. They showed up for work every day. They did the work that crossed their desk, whatever it was, secretary or bookkeeper or whatever, analyst, the computer guy. They did the work that they were paid to do that crossed their desk. The malfeasance happened at high levels that wasn't even visible to them, and let's not forget, they were caught up in the victimization too because they lost all their savings. They lost all their retirement. When the company was found out and, they were brought to task, they suffered along with the ship. They went down with the ship. I said, so you cannot demonize every clerk and every FBI agent and every attorney, that you see, even though they're caught in the machinery. We too were once also like that. Ted, you and I were in uniform. We were serving the military machinery, and, it was a crisis of conscience to resign our commissions and not do that and say, I'm going to peace with this business. And it's important to help people recognize we've been through most of the phases. Kate, Peter, we've gone through the anger thing. We're coming to peace. We're in the fast lane, to learn and evolve, and we're really feeling all the changes. And our instruments are now getting into fine tune. We're feeling every little thing. I noticed things at the post office the other day in people that I never would have tuned into before. Kate asked me how easy was it to put the blue box around my signature. Well, that was the easy part. The part that was not so easy and which summoned up every ounce of courage in my being was standing there for an hour, carefully and deliberately choosing my words that would contract with them to fulfill their obligation, to honor that money order and put it to rest. I'm like, I want to be at peace with you people, but you need to give me the $300, okay? That's hard until you do it. Ted, you flew a plane, you ride a motorcycle. Until you actually do it, until you drive or fly your vehicle, your person, your being, your spiritual divine courage and thought and mind and heart. Until you start to feel that, freedom reigns, until you have the reins of that power, it becomes a frightening thing. And we have to encourage the people who are close. And so you can do it. You can do it too. We need to inspire them, encourage them, bring them along, and, not ridicule or chastise them because they're fearful or because they're frozen or they're deer in the headlight or they didn't read the memo or they didn't get the memo. We're like, okay, I'll send it again. Okay, so, Kate, I know you've been really busy with the radio show, but Peter and I have the memo thing covered. He's made the list, and I'm at the post office. Okay, so we keep sending memos to all the players out there. There are those of us who are doing different pieces of the work. Like Ted says, we all have different gifts. We're all doing pieces. Many hands make light work.
There you go.
Make light work.
Yeah, the shovel's getting heavy on my end. But let me digress on that. We have some really good things coming forward here in a very short second. Within the next 24 to 48 hours, Michael and I will be going to post with those who have already come through steps 1 and 2 and are directly in the Divine Province, and then they will have access to all these documents to send off their packages now. So there'll be no excuse, because I know a lot of people, they're sort of befuddled, for lack of a better term. They weren't sure what to do next, so Michael and I have created, that's what we've been doing for the last month after that last seminar, was creating the format of a follow the bouncing ball administratively with verbiage as well as the little bit on their stamp technology and stuff. So there's some really, really good stuff coming right around the corner for those folks, and they'll post in the solution section on the site. So now nobody's got excuse to not send out their 10, 15, 20 packages because they really need to do that part. Yeah, just first class in the private. Everybody needs to. We all need to, because believe me, when they start getting the memo in all 50 states on a multiple level, it's wow, we didn't know that these guys were here. Hey, let me share something. Ted, I don't know if it was you told me. I think it was in reference to JT's call with DHS, them calling in through the back door and saying, hey, we weren't aware of you folks or whatever, but we'd like to, get the memo, i.e., and also post so that when we see this ID. Because I know a brother in Chicago had an issue with an $8 an hour flunky DHS employee who denied and refused to call the dadgum number on the back. So you got these clowns at the circus making legal determinations for your damn ID, and they don't have a clue.
Right.
Yet I had another brother in California the day of the seminar roll out of there for his California flight from Virginia. And they saw Washington, D.C. on the back, and they saw a diplomat on the front and said, hey, you go right on through, brother. So, it's like I say, it's all compartmentalized, and then you have these control freaks thinking that they're the gatekeepers, and they're just dumbasses and getting irradiated by the porno scanner all day, so it's melted their freaking brain, and they actually think they have some sort of power or authority. So we've got to right this ship of state on a different level, and we're fixing to do that on this next step that we're moving forward on.
Yeah, let me just say a few things real quick about the Postmaster site real quick again. I know we're almost out of time. But if you visit the Postmaster General's NA.org website, it's HTTPS. Even if you put in HTTP, it'll push it to the secure side. And what you'll find there, if you decide to become a member, there's plenty of information on the public side for you to look at. But once you get into the membership side, you will be able to immediately produce your Divine Providence documents. Assuming you have all your documents, your birth certificates, your social security information, et cetera, et cetera. You punch that into the form, you press enter, done. Okay? Those 3 documents get reviewed by the team, and then they get published to the Chancery Roll. Now, what also happens is all that data gets transferred into a master database. That database is being transmitted, as we speak, weekly to all the powers that be. We're talking about the Secretary of State. We're talking about the Treasury. We're talking about the Governor General of Canada. We're talking about the Crown in the Vatican. We're talking about the London authorities over there at wherever it is. Okay? So that happens. Also, we have the identification process where you can go in there and you fill out that form. You upload your photograph. You upload your signatures, et cetera, and press the button, boom, that order gets placed. Okay? And those are getting printed and processed. And we're shipping them all over. We're shipping them to South America. We're shipping them to South Africa. We're shipping them to Mexico, Europe. We're shipping them to Australia, everywhere. Okay, that's all happening. Also coming online probably tonight or tomorrow morning, we're going to have the writ process, where if you have a legal case, if you have a traffic case, you have a drunk case, you have a this case, a that case, a family court case, any kind of legal case, the writ process will be available to you. So what happens there? You put in all the information about you, your estate, your strawman name, et cetera, your divine name, and your authority and so forth, and then you put in the respondent, who needs to be served with this information, the court, for this, for that, the other, okay? Then that produces the writ. That produces the order. That gets issued by the Court of Chancery. It gets sent to the court, okay? And your case goes bye-bye, all right? And then very soon we're going to be having the deed process come online shortly thereafter. So if you have property, if you're in a foreclosure situation, same story. You can remove your property completely from your jurisdiction, from the tax rolls, all right? Hugely powerful. Next will be the vehicles, automobiles, private property, motor homes, boats, anything you own. Boom, suck it away from them. Take it away from their power. And then what else? What else are we going to have in there? I don't know. There's live chat. There's all kinds of stuff. You'd be amazed once you get in there. You'd be blown away.
Christmas in the foolish sense has come early. Ted, I've been trying to get with you all day. I had another mission. I've got another individual that I'm working with that is one who stands, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. But I do want to, if you have a chance tomorrow, I wouldn't mind having a chat with you. And there's a few things I get asked a lot of questions, and just a couple of things I'd like to clarify with you off air. and we'll go from there. But yeah, anyway, we still got 6 minutes, guys. So I just need a couple of minutes at the end to wrap up. So take her away.
I would like Ted to address, if you can. If you can't, that's fine. I understand. One of the most powerfully painful situations many people are in is not the loss of property, not the loss of car, not traffic things, and that, and the other cases that you're talking about, where boom, 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 you've been accused, you break the writ, and now your case goes away. What if you don't want your case to go away because the loss that you've sustained is the loss of your child or the loss of an elder who's been put into the court's ward state and you can't care for your elderly parent, or you've had children taken from you? Children are not property. This is such a painful situation for people. You don't want your case to go away. You want your child and your relationship with that child restored.
Yeah, okay, well, the only thing I could reference you back to is that call that the recent show that where Dean Clifford was on, and he was talking about all these different methods and so forth of how you can dishonor them and how you can use the system. But what you got to realize is when you go to peace, if you're actually suing, if you're on the aggressive, like I'm currently suing 6 of the largest banks in the world right now with my property.
Okay.
They've tried to foreclose on me a few times. I haven't paid my mortgage since 2009. Okay, and every time they try to foreclose on me, I just say, okay, well, that's fine. Just show me the proof, right? Show me that you loan me the money. Show me this. Show me that, and they can't.
Right.
It's all
proof of claim. They can't. Right.
Right. Yeah. So they don't have any of that. Now, what I've done to keep them off my back is gone offensively and sued them. And they're squealing and whining and trying to get my case dismissed and this, that, and the other, and so forth and so on. I'm probably going to pull that case back because I don't need to do that anymore. I'm just going to let it go.
Right.
That's all right. Now, they won't be able to foreclose on me because my property no longer will be in their jurisdiction here very shortly. So it's going to be moot. Okay, and I'll have gate and I'll have a very nice sign out front that says, Title 18, this, that, and the other, and you come on board. Sure, come on, injure me. Go ahead, go for it. Review the penalties under Title 18, Title 26.
Yeah,
it'll be nice. I'll go peacefully. Here you go. Here, handcuff me now. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, and just to back you up on that, a lot of us are in different situations for very specific reasons, so that we can do what we need to do to solve that to help others. Because the bottom line is, when I get home, it's going to be payday for a lot of people that have been, forcibly, in my case, kidnapped at gunpoint from my home. And those who are last go first, and those who are first go last. And the mirror is now upon them. So anyway,
the only thing I'll say about that, real quick about that is that JT spent 16 years in jail, and he blesses his jailer and he blesses the judges. Okay, so if he can do that and he can forgive, then I can forgive as well. And
well, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, and that's really what we have to do is forgive the banks the debt, because we're the ones that created the money, and we're the ones holding them in dishonor. But I do want to say before I forget, I was talking to Dean today, and it looks like he's going to be on next Wednesday outside the box with us. So I'd love to have you guys show up if you can, and we'll just have a beautiful group discussion. And I know there's going to be a lot of stuff happening between now and then. I know it's always the way it is. But I just want to give people a heads up that Dean will most likely, he tagged me today, will most likely be joining us next Wednesday, which would be another incredible lookout system kind of night.
Well, Monday starts the House of Scorpio. Is that what's happening, Kate? We're going to go get them starting on Monday.
Well, no. See, here's the thing: evil, by definition, must destroy itself. And what we have to do is just be the dual pillars of Hercules, just standing in truth. Sure. Truth is sovereign, and that's why Peter has said it many times. But we got a little over a minute and a half here. I just want to get some information out to people. You can get to the postmastergeneralna.org site if you want to go and check it out. I've been sending the links around, and I will continue to do so. You can get all the information you need on loveovermind.wordpress.com. All the links are there. So contact information, everything. Tony's book is there in the documents. Cynthia does a great job in keeping everything up to speed, and very, very easy to get at. And of course, you go to Peter's site, suijuris.me. That's suijuris.me. And Tony, awakeconsciousawareness.com. That's his website. And I believe starting next week, we're going to be turning the Friday night show into the Cosmic Blueprint show with Tony at the helm. Got to get that information out because we have the solution, and we just need to start sharing those with everyone. And I can't thank you guys enough. We got 30 seconds, so quick talk to you in a bit and go from there.
Just a very quick comment. We're about to make this information go cosmic, guys. We're going to be doing multicasts on various different shows: Awake Aware, Pied Piper Network, These Changing Times, and doing multi-shows. And this is going to be awesome. Don't forget, guys. Santos Bonacci starts his first
Sunday.
show on Sunday, 7 to 9. We got 5 seconds left. I just want to say thanks, Ted, Patrice, Tony, Peter. You guys rock. I love you all. You've been listening to Outside the Box. I'm your host, Kate of Gaia. Have a great night.
Hey, Kate, post me when you get it.
Night.
Thank you.
Night.
All right, we're good.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Guess we're off the air now.
Hey, and a good Friday night to everybody listening to Outside the Box here on Freedom Reigns Blog Talk Radio. I am Kate of Gaia, your host tonight, and we have we're going to have some fun tonight. Again, it's just going to be another lock and load kind of evening. And Peter, have we got you there on the line?
Sure do.
Attaboy. And we're just waiting for Tony to come in. And I am assuming that must be Ted on the other line, so I'm going to make that hot and see who it is.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Ted, is that you there?
This is me. Yes, it is.
All right. That is you. The I am that I am. Well, we're certainly not yous anymore. We're more like rams now, so that's yeah, no more sheeple land for us. So yeah. We're going to have a bit of fun tonight. We're going to have a whole lot of fun tonight. And don't forget, guys, you can go over to the freedomreigns.us chat. You can just go to www.freedomreigns.us, and you can put /chat or just go to the room and click on chat, and we'll get you in there and see what everyone has to say. But I got to tell you, this has been a week of weeks. Been quite a week. It's been actually quite a month. We've had a lot of information come out and a lot of things clarify very, very quickly. So anyway, I'm going to give you guys the floor. I'm waiting for Tony to get online here. And as always, UK, for whatever reason, we always have a bit of an issue getting them on the line. But Ted and Peter, I'm going to let you guys, Peter, you don't need an introduction, but I want you to give one anyway. Oh, there's Tony now, so I'm going to make Tony's mic hot. And anyway, so I want you guys to do a little brief intro on yourselves, and we're just we're playing wild card tonight. So take her away.
Cool. Well, it's a divine providence type of day today. Everything's starting to move forward on a whole new level, which is really good for everybody involved. We've had some very nice victories this week in a good way. For those who don't believe anything we say or do or whatever, and got a lot of stone throwing, but that's the busy making behavior, and we're trying to keep reduce the fractures in people's knowledge base. But of course, they've got to grab onto it a little bit and get some for themselves. Anyways, I was going to let Ted run.
And as I look back here, things just don't happen for a reason or without a reason. There's a reason why I was at the conference over in Virginia the Bonacci General Conference and met James McBride and was able to come along board and offer my services to them. And we've been able to build a very, very stout.
Ted, can we get just, hey brother, can we speak up just a little bit? We're getting a little like a muffled sound, sort of.
Okay. Did you guys lose me? Hold on.
No, we got you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I guess you need to speak up a little bit.
All right, hold on. Yeah, somehow it's, let me just reconnect here my headset. All right, how about now? Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it's just a little bit cleaner. You need to speak up like a Marine, dude.
All right, sorry about that. So when did that transition? When did I drop out? Because it looks like it switched from my headset to the phone for some reason.
You didn't actually cut out, Ted. So no, it was a bit scratchy. That's all. No, everything's good.
Okay. Well, anyway, so like I was saying, I've learned these skills, right? And I have the skill set now where I can build these magnificent sites and stand them up and we've done that for the Divine Province and for the PostmasterGeneralNA.org website. The processes that we're putting in place. I'm a big process guy. Okay. When my first squadron, I was over in Japan, and I'll tell this quick story just to give you an idea. But our squadron was based just outside of Tokyo, and we would have helicopters on ships all over the Pacific. Okay, and every month we would have to track every single bullet, every single drop of gasoline, every nut, every bolt, every torpedo, every smoke flare, everything. And all that had to be consolidated. So these reports would come in to the operations department, and then all these reports would have to be consolidated and then sent out to the wing out in California. Well, when I got there, after I'd been deployed for about a year or so, they put me into the operations as the assistant operations guy. And I was floored at how we were doing this. I mean, the process would take them like 2 days solid, work until midnight and all this craziness to get this report done. And, this was back in the, mid to late 90s, and there were databases, there were Excel spreadsheets and stuff. So I said, this looks like the way we're doing it.
For a couple of minutes and broach some information that he brought across our desk. Basically, we brought across our own desk. But Ted, why don't you? I'd like to bring Ted into the mix as far as I've known Ted for exactly, I think, about a week and a half. He came in through my back door, so to speak, through Brother Michael, who's the webmaster of Sui Juris, and then he told me he was standing in the breach with the PMG to create some excellent stuff with the PMG. So, he opened that door, and we've been talking ever since, and we can share a lot of commonalities. We share a lot of parallel roads. So it's real good that we're taking this thing from the Admiralty and bringing everybody back home to being proverbial landlubbers. Who would have thought 2 Navy guys bringing everybody back to land? You got to like the irony there. Anyways, with that being said, Ted.
Well, thanks for that lead in there, Peter. And it's been we've only known each other in the physical sense, I guess, for a short time, but I think we're definitely kindred spirits, and we've been traveling along the road parallel for quite some time. So, you and I have immediately been able to communicate on a very, very deep level, and I'm honored to call you my friend. Same with you, Kate. I'm just barely getting to know you, but listen to your show off and on, for quite some time, and I've certainly been enlightened by a lot of the topics and the wonderful guests you've had on. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that, as well to all your guests that you've had on throughout the recent past with the archives and so forth. I encourage everybody to get in there and dig into those archives, because you'll find some gold, that's for sure. Just a little bit about me. I don't want to talk a lot about me, but my journey along this path started when I was exiting the military. I was a military pilot in my former life. I've flown missions all over the planet for a long time. I was pretty much active duty for about 17 years, and due to some personal issues and so forth, I made a decision to resign my commission and move on. That was a very difficult process, and I had to reinvent myself in many ways. And one of the skills, one of the things that I was able to accomplish is this whole web thing, right? So I knew that the web was wonderful, and I just wanted to figure out how to harness it and generate some revenue and so forth. And was able to teach myself lots of things about how commerce works on the web and so forth, and how to build sites, and then how to open source platforms and so forth and so on. And this motions to dismiss through his paralegals, and they're signing everything electronically with the /S/, right? Okay, they don't even bother signing the crap, and they've got their own little portal where they can submit their stuff to the courts. Well, you see, we are doing that for the Divine Providence membership. We can electronically sign all of our stuff. We have our documents going through 128-bit encryption, so the documents are produced with a /S/, and then the file name. Members only can click on those elements and see the actual signatures. But in order for the public to do that, they would need to be, part of the. They would need to have access through the back. So the membership thing. Okay, now what's coming new? All right. What we didn't talk about, I know you mentioned this recently with Michael's case, and we'll get into that in a lot more detail. But one thing that was done by the Court of Chancery was they filed and they communicated directly with the court. You see, a court can communicate directly with a court. Me as a living being cannot. So the Court of Chancery filed a writ into Michael's case. That was a detail that wasn't really discussed much on the other calls that I've listened to. And how important is that? That's hugely important, because you've got a court which is virtually the highest court in the land, communicating with this puny corporate court, wherever it is, in Virginia or wherever. Okay, so when he shows up there and he's able to reassert his status as a living beneficiary to the estate, they're taking notice. And, his case, he walks out of there scot-free. Oh, and by the way, Michael, yes, you're free to go as well. I love that part. That was so cool.
It's like they were talking to two different personalities, the live man and the fiction in the same breath. Isn't that some ironic stuff right there?
Well, it's proof in the pudding, That's exactly what we all needed to hear. And isn't it wonderful that Archangel Michael showed up finally?
Absolutely. And that's one thing I want to say about the site now, okay? For example, for our membership, we are that's what we've been working on this whole last week. The automated process for our members to be able to process writs. Okay? So you're able to come in and order a writ, which means you provide us all the detail about you, the living beneficiary, the estate, the all caps information, any of the respondents who are in, part of this deal, anyone who's, accusing you, or anyone who needs to be served, whether it be a law firm, whether it be a bank, whether it be a county court, whether it be a sheriff, anything, okay? You put all that information in there and you execute the document. What that does isn't the most efficient way. They were literally tracking this stuff on graph paper, guys, okay? Graph paper with pencils, okay? So I implemented some things, right? And was able to consolidate all this data into a nice process flow where literally I would just import the stuff into a spreadsheet, run some macros, consolidate everything, spit out a message to California, and I'd go play golf. And these guys would be, what the hell are you doing, man? Why aren't you here till midnight? I was like, hey, the report's on your desk. Just chill, man. Everything's cool. So process is hugely important, especially with what we're doing with this Postmaster General processes. Okay, we've got a membership process where we're able to bring people in, and they are coming in by the boatload, okay? I mean, my email box is just blowing up with new member, new member, new member, new member, new member. And then what happens when you become a member, you're able to get access to the private side of the site. And in there, there's things like where you can input all the data so we can produce the 3 primary core divine providence documents. Those are the Writ of Curia, the Will and Testament, and the Final Order. Now, those are status documents. So those get reviewed by the team, but when that form is executed, it produces those 3 docs. Okay, so the members put this information in. It contains a lot of details. Their social information, their birth certificate information, their Social Security card, back of the red letter stuff, all their address, phone, email, their given names, so forth and so on, their mother, their father. All this gets consolidated and incorporated into these forms, and they get produced automatically. See, that's what computers do. They do things very well like that over and over and over again. That's why we can produce these documents for people almost instantaneously. Then we review them and then publish them to the Chancery Roll, okay? In addition, we have the member ID process, very similar. So we've got ID orders coming in from all over the planet, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Mexico, all over the United States, Canada. I mean, it's just flowing in like crazy, okay? And how can we do that? How can we process these? Well, we're harnessing the power of, technology, and we're able to bring all this stuff in. I mean, you can, gone are the days, okay? I've filed plenty of legal documents with the local court, okay? And typically what I have to do is I've got to go and I've got to produce the document. Then I've got to go get it notarized. I got to go to my bank, get it notarized. Then I got to run down to the court, and I got to run to the clerk, and I got to beg her to stamp it, and all this nonsense. Well, meanwhile, the fat cat sitting on his yacht, the lawyer, the attorney, the privileged, noble class is sitting there delegating voluminous